So there's something I'm really excited to talk about because I'm so into this thing that I'm about to talk about. I'm so involved in it day and night, pretty much. Like throughout the day, I keep coming back to this. If I wake up at night, this is the first thing that comes into my mind. And wherever ups and downs I go through, I keep coming back to this. And I've actually finished the book I've been writing. The final title is Invoke the Avatar Within You. And I want to thank Marjorie, who's here on the call, for referring me to one of her publicist friends who helped me come up with that name. So thank you, Marjorie, for that connection. And there's this book, this thing I'm about to talk about is the main theme of the entire 250-page book. And what that is your transmission. I want to explain what that means to me. You know, there's many words, the word transmission is used in many different ways. Like we often think of something in your car that shifts different gears. That's one kind of transmission. Or radio waves going from one place to another is another kind of transmission. But this is a different kind of transmission. This is who you really are. And this is such a profound thing that sometimes it's so simple and so profound that it may be hard to wrap your head around. But that's okay. It's worth taking a little time with this. If this seems a little bit abstract at first, don't worry about it. Just let it sink in. Whatever amount of this is good for you, it works for you. Just consider this, that we are trained to think of ourselves as this, body, mind, senses, all the stuff we're involved with. How we're doing on the scale of success to failure and happiness to misery and all that. But prior to all that, prior to everything that we identify with on this level, there's a beingness that we are. And one of the terms that's used for it is the I am presence. Like I am is the beingness we are prior to anything in our physical and mental existence. And even before I am, if there's such a possibility of anything like that, there's an original transmission that comes from the highest source that exists. I'd say it's even beyond the universe. And that's a whole other discussion. A lot of quantum physicists figured out there's actually multiple universes. So it's even beyond the universe as we think of it. But from whatever the original source is, there's an emanation or a ray or a transmission that has a certain flavor, has a certain frequency that has eventually come into being you and me. So that's the way I'm using the word transmission, is it's that original source coming into existence and eventually turning into a human being with all the traits and everything we have. And the amazing thing that I have been discovering is that I can actually experience that transmission. It's not just an abstract, spiritual, esoteric idea. It's something I can tangibly feel in my body, and that to the extent that I stay aware of it and tuned into it, just like dialing a radio or something into a certain frequency, it's basically the ultimate solution for everything in my life that needs a solution. So let me say what I mean by that. What needs a solution? Just like everybody else, I'm an evolving person. I have positive experiences and I have some painful negative experiences and things that are working well and things that don't seem to be working well. I have tendencies in my mind toward analyzing or self-judgment. I mean, all the kind of stuff. We all have whatever collection of those traits are. I have things that could be considered challenges or problems, and other things that seem like amazing blessings. And is that I find if I tune into my transmission in a bodily feel it in my body, not just think about it or imagine it or visualize it, but actually feel it in my body, then I feel like I'm in the ideal place for all those experiences of my life. Like it just puts me in a more accepting, loving at peace, kind of excited in a nice, gentle, subtle way, and sometimes a more extreme way. And also clear. And what I've noticed in writing this book, and just a lot of things I'm dealing with, is that when I'm connecting with my transmission, everything just pops into my mind that I need to know. Like anything I have a question about, the answer is right there. It may not be a big intellectual, like complex answer, but just kind of like a knowingness of what's appropriate or what's not. And also a lot of my book has been almost dictated by a higher source that just seems to tell me what to write, and I just write it down or speak it into my voice recorder, and it's all coming through that transmission. So many times I've said, okay, it's my spiritual guides, or maybe it's Master Jesus, or it's, whatever, my soul, or is it God, or, I have all these labels you can put on it, and those all may have certain real meanings, they probably do. But the thing that's the most relevant, I feel, is this transmission, because it's the pure, unadulterated source of each one of us, without even having to go through the filter of calling on a certain spiritual guide or a certain angel or whatever it is. I mean, all that is helpful. It's just that this is the pure, unadulterated source of all that. I'm also aware that there's a lot of disinformation going on in our society. This last election campaign, the best word to describe it is Orwellian, because George Orwell wrote that book, 1984, about a society where he actually made up the word doublethink, where you're always told something that's the opposite of what's the truth, and everything is just people believing whatever the government tells them and having no basis in reality. And he was a brilliant writer, George Orwell, because he saw what would be happening in our time, or at least what's trying to happen in our time. And when you're in your transmission, you're free of all that stuff, because you're actually feeling something that's beyond duality, that's not caught up in the, what's right and what's true and what's false and what's real and what's disinformation. You're feeling something that is not any of that. So actually, I just realized I forgot to unplug my phone, so I'm going to go do that now, and I'll be right back. Okay. All right, sorry about that. So the main thing is that as I'm speaking, my transmission is transmitting through me. That's another reason it's called a transmission. So what I'd like to suggest is that those of you who are listening and participating in this, if this is of interest to you, if this is something you want to explore within yourself, is just simply intend to feel your own transmission. Not feel my transmission, but feel yours, the one that comes through you. What mine is doing is I have a somewhat activating transmission. That's one of my qualities, is that my transmission tends to activate other people to feel more of their own transmission, or their own superpowers, or whatever you'd want to call it, their own quantum energy. So if that can help you in any way, that's good. But what's most important is for you to feel what comes through you. So how would you do that? You simply open yourself to it. You could just say, it's my intention to open my bodily felt sense to experience directly my source transmission. Maybe you'd want to use a different name for it. That's okay. I'm not sure what the exact difference is between your transmission and your higher self, or your I am presence. They're all just different names for something that's probably pretty similar. So breathing really helps. Tuning into love really helps, because your transmission is all about love. It's the ultimate, purest love. And just have no expectation of what it should be like. Forget every spiritual lecture you've ever heard and every spiritual book you've ever read. Just wipe the slate clean and just be like in beginner's mind. What am I experiencing now? I do find that when the tip of my tongue's on the roof of my mouth, it's easier to feel my transmission. I've noticed that. And there's a quality of letting go into it. It's not an efforting. It's not like I'm trying to do a technique. It's a letting go into something. Could you try that on for a moment? The fact that this transmission, this emanation that is you, is the solution to everything you could perceive to be a problem in your life right now. Like whatever part of your mind believes you have problems, this is the solution. Because everything is in this. This is the source. That's why it's called source. Everything is in this. Let's take an example of something that a lot of people believe they have troubles with: money. Okay, not having enough money or feeling insecure about money. Money is a form of energy. Money is a symbol of energy being exchanged between people. And what are the things we're exchanging? Well, we exchange different physical things that come out of the earth, ultimately. Anything that's physical eventually came from the earth, unless it's a meteorite. And then we exchange ideas, we exchange our creative energies. There's things that we exchange, and then money is a symbol of that. Well, ultimately, all of that comes from source. So when you're experiencing your transmission, you're going right to the highest banker in your cosmic bank account and tuning into it. What are some other things people have problems with? Love. Not enough love in my life, or going through some issue with the relationship with somebody, or withholding love from yourself because you have self-judgment. Typical stuff people go through. Well, this transmission is the ultimate, purest love that you are. Other issues people go through, health issues. Well, health has to do with how much vital energy is freely flowing through all the meridians and chakras and organs of your body, right? It's about whether that energy is available to you, and that comes from your source. So the whole thing here is just to release any belief systems about anything you've ever heard before today, and just let this be really beginner's mind, just really fresh. The best thing, my suggestion is, don't try to fit this into the framework of other spiritual beliefs you have. Let go of all of that, and just like you never had any spiritual idea in your life, and this is just a pure experience, like a newborn baby coming in the world. Whoa, what is this? In the last few days, I've had some really beautiful moments of feeling elated, like when I did some sessions with people and they had beautiful results, or connecting with a friend last night, and different experiences I had some moments that were pretty low moments, where my mood was kind of low in the last few days at times. So what I've practiced in both those cases is tuning into my transmission and just feeling the alchemy of that transmission pervading whatever that emotional experience is I was having. What's it like to feel really excited and elated and feel my transmission? Or what's it like to feel a little depressed and feel my transmission? And what I've been noticing is that as I do that, the transmission is just totally dependable. It's a point of love and positivity that is always there in either of those cases, when my mood is low or my mood is high. And I'm learning to trust it more and more. And that's a big deal. Trusting your source is a really big deal for us. So my next suggestion, again, I'm just offering these suggestions. Everything, we're all sovereigns here. You only do what you feel like motivated to do. Would be if you're in any way in touch with your transmission, or you think maybe you are, but you're not sure, I'm not sure of this, but whatever it is, just if you have a little bit of trust that you're in it, you could simply intend, it's my intention to share my transmission with the other people on this conference, to gift everybody else with the essence that I'm bringing through now. That would be fun to do that and just notice what happens with the energy here. I just noticed a big shift. I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but I just felt it like get intensify, like this field just kind of got thicker and bigger, and that's what it felt like to me. So thank you to anybody that just shared your essence and your transmission. I'm taking the love that I'm feeling right now, and I'm saying, dear, this feeling of love in me, please double, please expand. And it happens. As soon as I say, may the love expand, I actually feel it expand, because this is mastery practice. This is what we're learning. Toddlers have to learn how to walk. Well, we're learning mastery of our consciousness little by little through all the different challenges and tribulations we go through. We get chances to test drive it and see what we do with it, right? So now I'd like to also suggest, imagine that the earth, the whole earth is just floating in front of you right now. Or you can have your eyes closed and imagine it yourself, but just imagine that you're bringing this gift of your transmission and just shining it onto the earth, on every living person on the earth, every living thing, every person. Not trying to change them. We're not trying to interfere with them, but just simply, here's my gift. Please receive it. If this can be good for you, I offer you my gift of my transmission, my love. Now, there's really no way to lose with this. If you are feeling something that you might identify as what I'm talking about, that's really beautiful. If you think maybe I don't know if I'm feeling it, maybe I'm not, doesn't matter. You can just trust that you are who you are. That's okay too. Like the more you practice, like any kind of meditation, the more you practice it, the more your nervous system gets sensitized to it, and you actually start feeling it more. Like I feel myself kind of floating in and out of this, but I'm just training myself moment by moment to keep being in that love and in the presence of my transmission more and more, and spending a little less time each day being led around by the nose, by my mind and all its ups and downs and whims and, doubts and fears. And like, let those be there, but I'm just choosing to prioritize this more. And it's just a moment-to-moment practice.